Hello world, my name is Tim Ruswick, and I'm with Michael Kocha, KindredDev. You might know him around the internet, streaming and YouTube channel and all kinds of stuff. Developer of Swords and Magic and Stuff. Michael, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing good, man. It's cool to be back here.
Kickstarter, man, you guys are blowing up. You had a huge Kickstarter. You're almost 200% funded in like a week. Shit is crazy. Shit's going down for your game, which, by the way, games and links support the Kickstarter. But we're going to talk about how you pulled that off, your journey over the last few years, your game development, all the crazy things you went through with the game and all that stuff over time. And I'm excited to dive into this. You ready?
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. First things first, I got to ask. You made a game. You're making a game. What started you on that journey for the game, this game specifically? You made a few games before that, right?
Yeah, I've made a bunch of games. I've been doing this for like 14 years, so I made a lot of games.
Long ass time.
Started a lot of games.
What? Okay, so give us the brief introduction of all those games, and then what got you onto this game.
Okay, so brief introduction is in high school I had a friend. Him and I used to just kind of go back and forth about making like game ideas, and one day I was like, maybe I'll just do that as like a career if that's possible. I took a while to actually get going and actually making games, but yeah, once I got started, I didn't really stop. So that's how I got started. And then as far as Swords and Magic, that came about kind of randomly. I just learned a little tiny bit about Unreal Engine when I was in school for game art and animation. And so after I graduated, I thought, you know what, I want to just dive into that and see if I can learn a little more about it. And so I decided to make a character to see if I could animate it and get it rigged and running around and everything. And I didn't want to spend a bunch of time making the character because I knew how to do that part already through school. So I just made a real quick little like boxy cube character and threw it in the game. And I started playing around with it. And within a couple weeks, I had like some basic gameplay going on. And so one of my friends told me, you should start streaming this. This would be a good content for Twitch. And so I started streaming, and around a month or so later, when I went to go back and redo the character, everyone loved it. And so it just stuck. So that's how
became the art
started.
style of like the whole, that's interesting.
Out of pure laziness. That's all it was.
And streaming wasn't even like a plan. It was just like, oh, we should stream this. That's awesome.
Nope. It was just, my friend was like, you should try out Twitch. And so I just jumped on and I streamed for like probably a month, like 5 viewers max. I know it went at least 2 weeks just talking to her, just my one friend. That's it. Because like I have a couple of clips from way back then where I was just like referring directly to her every time I'd say anything on the stream.
I remember, dude. I remember. That's where I found your stream in the Game Dev Underground Discord chat. That's where I started watching you. Because that was so. Did you pick up a normal stream schedule from there? Like, were you like on it, or were you just like randomly streaming whenever?
Yeah, I started pretty random, and then slowly started. Once I had like probably 5 to 10 viewers, like pretty consistently, I was like, I better like buckle down and actually get a schedule going. So, but I was streaming like 5 days a week then, I think.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I cut way back.
What do you stream now, for those of you?
3. It was 2, and then I added Tuesdays back on because Tuesdays were a big day for me, and I just was kind of bored, so I added Tuesdays back in.
Which, if you guys want Kindred's Twitch, you can find it down below.
It's there.
So you're streaming. People are starting to notice that this game looks awesome. People are starting to come on in. Where did like the name come from?
So there were a bunch of names thrown around. I named it on stream. Like most of the design decisions that got made, was made on stream. And I think I had a bunch of different ideas for names. I don't remember what they all are now, but it was just kind of like I wanted a name that really encompassed what the game was. Like I wanted it to be really obvious, but at the same time, I wanted it to be like cute and fun and like engaging and made people question like, what's this game about? And so it was just kind of like, well, it's about swords and magic and stuff, and it just kind of like naturally fell into place, and everyone's stream was like, yeah, that's a good name. And I was like, I don't know, and I kind of rolled around with it for a while, but eventually it ended up sticking. Now I regret it, to be honest.
You regret it?
That stupid apostrophe, everyone hates it. I just had an article written. Yeah, I just had an article written, and the first line of the article was that that other than the name giving their editor a conniption fit, the game looks awesome.
That's pretty great. I
Yeah.
do like, so like, it doesn't follow a lot of normal naming conventions, but that's one of the reasons why like Untitled Goose Game and like weird stuff like that, I think that's one of the reasons why they work, you know, because they're distinct and different, and I really, really like it.
Yeah, not intentional.
I don't know about the apostrophe. But,
no, it was terrible. Those
English stuff, that's not my strong suit. But so you've had a little bit, I've been following you for a while. You've had a little bit of struggles during game dev.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about maybe some of like the problems you encountered and the mistakes that you made starting a project this big in something like Unreal?
Sure.
Anything specific that comes to mind?
Yeah, lots.
Let's start at the beginning.
So first off, I didn't know what I was doing in the engine, and I started a game that was initially going to be like a 3-month project. And I think everyone starts like with a 3-month project. Right?
I laugh because I've tried that and it doesn't work.
Haven't we all? Yeah. So it was supposed to be 3 months, and I was like, I could just make a little open world game in 3 months. It's not a big deal. Like, this would be fun. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. And I was like, eventually, I was like, oh, I could add split screen. I figured out how to do split screen in Unreal Engine, and so I added that in, and that suddenly became like another month or two of work, and then it was just one thing led to another. And then around about 6 months or so later, I had an alpha build ready to go with split screen, everything working. It was actually a pretty decent sized world and everything, probably about 2 hours of content or so. And I released it, and it was just like bug city. It was just, there's so many bugs. You could barely even play the game. And I realized then that I didn't know what I was doing in Unreal Engine, and I needed to like go back and remake everything better and like restructure everything. And I learned tons in 6 months, like so much. And so that was the biggest pitfall, is that I didn't know enough about the engine to make a game of that scale yet. And so if I could go back and do it again, I probably would have made a couple smaller games first, which, I mean, that's kind of the most obvious thing. And I should have known that going in, making games for so long. But I didn't think that, I thought, I've been making games for like 12 years, whatever at the time. It shouldn't be a big deal. I should be able to make a big project. And now that I know how to do like 3D art more or better, then I can like hammer that out. It shouldn't be a big deal. But it was a pretty big deal, because I had to start over. So I started over then, and then a little while into that like reboot, I picked up a programmer. That relationship was a little bit rocky. We didn't really know each other very well, and I regret that. And then in the middle of us trying to work together, I ended up having to move. We relocated across the country for my wife's job. And so I was basically without a computer for like 3 months. We lived in a hotel room for a while. It was a mess. And so, yeah, that whole process kind of like split. There was just a huge void between me and the programmer. And so when I finally did get back to the project, nothing had been done on her end, and nothing was really done on my end, obviously. And so I threw in the towel. I canceled the whole game. And then it only took like a couple weeks after that when I started again. So
third time.
I was up and down. It was everywhere. But I just couldn't give up. Like, my daughter at the time she still loves the game, but it's not her favorite game anymore. Now that's Minecraft, but that's okay. One day.
It got stolen from you.
Yeah. She tells me when I ask her, like, I say, why not Swords and Magic? And then she says, well, my favorite game that's released. So
you got to release it. There you go.
Yeah,
there's the motivation.
That's exactly. But yeah, she wanted to play it. And so I sat her down one day and, sorry, the dog's barking. I sat her down one day and let her play it, and she just loves it. And so just watching her play for like 20 minutes or half an hour, however long it took. I was like, I guess I can't quit this. I have to keep working on it. And so I just started adding more stuff in. And then I started over again, because at that point it was a mess with the programmer's code and my art and everything. Just kind of nothing worked together anymore. And so I started over again. And then that I decided I'm just going to keep this like single player. It's going to be super easy. And then of course, 6 months later, so actually I think it was about a year in of that build, I added another programmer into the mix. But this time I felt like I went about it a better way. Like, I knew him. His name's Maz. He streamed too at the time, and I watched his streams all the time. We were constantly helping each other out. We did we worked on a bit of a game together for a while. He was doing tons of multiplayer games, and I knew that he knew what he was doing, and him and I, we meshed really well. And so we just decided to try it out for 2 weeks, and he pulled it off. And within 2 weeks we had a playable build. So I went with it.
Is he doing all of the programming or just the multiplayer stuff? All of it.
All of it. Currently, there's a chance that I might end up picking up some like logic or throughout the process. Like, I might do like traps and like dungeon traps and puzzles and stuff like that, some simple things, so he doesn't have to do everything. But as far as like all back end stuff and like all the game logic and systems, he's doing all of it.
So that's what I was going to bring up too, is because most, if not all, of the game was in blueprints, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, a lot of people don't realize how powerful that stuff is. I've watched you plenty of times. I've never used those in Unreal, but like you built an entire game out of those things, and it's
Yep.
pretty sweet to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, well, Fortnite was originally built in full blueprints to show the power of blueprints, and then when
Wow.
it blew up in Battle Royale, they decided to go to C++ to optimize it because they had so many players. So originally, it was built in all blueprints to like literally demonstrate how powerful blueprints were.
That's awesome. Is there
Yeah.
anything that, not to start an engine war, but is there anything in Unreal that you feel like, any mistakes you made with blueprints, or anything that people should be aware of if they want to go that route?
I don't know. Like blueprints are fine for I think most games. It's just there does come a point where optimization in blueprints doesn't quite match what you can do in C++. I mean, yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with like engine war either. I think it's just kind of like blueprints versus like code. So there is a point where like code is always going to be better, I think, because it's just faster, and faster is always better. But
A thing
still,
that comes up on my stream all the time is like, people are like, "Oh, do you like Construct 3? Because that's my program of choice." And like, is it faster or is it slower? And like, I always feel like it's way faster in the beginning, but like the bigger the project gets, like the more it slows you down. Do you feel like
Mhm.
blueprints are the same way?
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the same with everything, even with code. Once things start getting confusing, like once you've got like, once you
Yeah.
have like spaghetti, then it's going to be slower no matter what you're doing, whether it's code or with blueprints or even construct.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I think I don't know. I don't think that like the engine never like slows down on me or anything. Compile times in like blueprints, once you have like a massive blueprint, it starts slowing down. But that's because I was never really good at like optimizing my blueprints and stuff. Moz, on the other hand, like every one of his like blueprints has like 5 nodes in it. I swear. Every time I look through this stuff to try to like change anything, I'm like, how did you do this with 5 nodes? This would have taken me like 300 nodes. So I don't know, but his are much faster, and he can compile real fast, and it takes me forever. So I
That's
don't
cool.
know.
What's it is you guys are currently in the process of source control stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were you using before, and what are you using now, and what do you see the strengths and weaknesses of all that are?
So we were using Git. I used Git when I was doing the single player stuff too, working alone. And the reason for that, the only reason I was even using it is so I had a backup basically. So I was constantly pushing a backup, and if anything ever happened, I could just pull from yesterday's backup, and I was good to go. I lost like a couple hours of work if that. So we were using Git, and the problem with Git is that you can't lock out files. So if I was working on the main world, the world map, and I was like just doing level design stuff, and then he goes in and just drops in like say a mount just to test it out or something, because we're working on mounts right now, and then saves it. Then when I push mine to him, it'll like overwrite it, or if he pushes it to mine, I can't pull his changes on his side because it's changed that map. And so I either have to go in and like delete the map or like allow it to overwrite it, and that causes it just causes a bunch of headaches. So we are constantly having to like copy our files out and then like pull all the changes and then paste the files back in just so we can use the engine again. Like you can't even you open the engine without pulling it. It's a pain. So we decided to switch to Perforce because Perforce allows us to like actually lock out files because it uses a server, and so it can communicate with the server basically in real time. So if I'm working on the map, I check it out, and then he'll see that on his end that it's been checked out, and he can't even open it. He can't touch it basically. So that way, when he pushes things, he knows he's not changing anything that I've been working on, and I'm not changing anything that he's been working on because it doesn't allow that. So
That's
we're
the main
switching that right
reason.
now.
Cool. That's I gotta look into source control. I use Dropbox for my source control.
Yeah,
Comment section's gonna attack me now. Watch. Watch. Now, okay, so all of this journey led you to where you are now, with the Kickstarter. One, what made you even pick Kickstarter as the option? And then two, well, let's just start with that. What made you want to go with Kickstarter?
I wasn't going to do a Kickstarter for the longest time. I kept saying no. So my biggest qualm with Kickstarter was that I was planning on, and I still am planning on releasing an early access on Steam. So I see early access as a way for devs to get paid basically while like getting feedback and have the game out there, right? So they can release the game and be updating it and getting feedback in real time while the players are playing the new updates and everything. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to be making money through for an unfinished game through Steam already, I'm going to feel really bad about releasing on Kickstarter or launching a campaign on Kickstarter because if I felt like it was double dipping. But the more I talked to my audience, my community, everyone was like, no, we'd love if you did Kickstarter because it means you have money now to keep working on the game, and then you can release in early access and we can give you feedback. So if we don't like something about the game, you can change it before it's finished. And so I finally decided to do it. And the reason I chose Kickstarter, it really, like, the only other option I think I even considered was like, what's it called? Indiegogo?
Go, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it's called. Or is that what it's called? Or GoFundMe? What is it? What's the difference?
Both of those. I don't know. They're
I don't know.
Kickstarters.
Whatever. That's exactly why I didn't pick them, right? That's exactly right. Why? So yeah, that's why I went with Kickstarter, because it was just everyone knows Kickstarter. So I just thought that's the easiest way to get people there.
So from like you like first thinking about it to you deciding to Kickstarter, how long was that process?
It's been a while. My wife's been telling me to do a Kickstarter for probably over a year.
Really?
Like since I started building an audience on Twitch and people were like seeing the game and telling me that it looked awesome and they couldn't wait, and people kept comparing it to Cube World and stuff. So at around that time is when my wife was like, maybe you should do a Kickstarter and see if you can generate some interest and do something with this. So that's kind of what
lesson now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I listen to my wife now. Yeah.
So you're never gonna live that down. I
Nope,
told you so
never.
Forever. All right. So how long then have you been working on it? Like the actual page and all that stuff.
Oh, the Kickstarter?
Yeah.
I honestly wish I remembered exactly what day I started, but I think I spent about a month working on it.
Okay. So
I think it was about a month. Yeah, it might have been a little longer than that, because I've had the page for quite a while, but I didn't really put anything on it. I think when I decided, okay, I'm doing this, and I set a date, I decided to launch it March 1st, or decided to launch the like the coming soon page on March 1st, and then March 17th was the actual launch date of the project or the campaign. When I decided to set that date, I think I had about a month before that date, and that's when I started like opening the project or opening up the campaign again and like actually putting the content in. And I already had a bunch of content written in there, so I don't know when I did that. Sometime apparently.
So because there's a lot of people that haven't ever done anything like this. They may want to, but they've never even approached this. Like, let's go through the whole process if that's cool. Sure. Like what, where do you start? Like what do you do? Like I want to run a Kickstarter. What do I do?
I went to Kickstarter.com, and right in the top right of like the homepage it says start or
you
start
just
a
click
project.
Start, and then what?
It's like right there, and then it comes up and it asks you for your project name,
and you just go with that.
You just start typing it in. Yep.
And how did you come up with rewards and stuff?
Trial and error. I don't know. I've been. Oh, rewards. Sorry. Yeah, rewards. I thought you said the words.
The word. Tell me your exact process for the words, man. I don't know what words to use.
Yeah. No. So the rewards, that was kind of tricky too. Like, I don't know. I've been thinking about rewards like for a while, because ever since I decided like, okay, maybe I should do a Kickstarter, I've been thinking about it. And for a while, I really wanted to offer like beta access, because everyone wants to play the game like right now. And I put out that to my community, and I was like, do you guys think we should like sell a beta access tier where everyone can play the game like in a couple months from now when it's like a little more fleshed out? And pretty much everyone in there, primarily my testing group, was just like, no, absolutely not. They shouldn't, because basically the way they saw it is that they've been around for, some of them for 2 years. They've been waiting around for 2 years to play the game, and they thought if someone can just come in and pay for access, then that like, what was the point of building a community and like getting them all involved and like giving them testing access when they've become active and stuff. So that was ultimately the reason I decided not to do it. And also because I just didn't want a lot of people playing the game in an unfinished state and then telling all their friends, yeah, it's not as cool as you think it might be, because it's not finished. So I don't believe in demos either. So
we're gonna dive into that in just a second, because I'm curious. But so you kind of glossed over something I think is super, super important. You involved your community every step of the way in this.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
is you like asking them what they want and going through it, and like even things that you thought you wanted, they said no, and then you like reconsidered it. Is there anything you've kind of learned over that process? Was this always something that you were just going to do, involve the community? Because a lot of people don't. A lot of people were like, hey, my Kickstarter's up, and then everybody's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you did the whole way, right?
I've been extremely transparent about my entire dev process since the very beginning. Like since I started streaming on Twitch, in my opinion, I was just kind of looking at it like, I'm already streaming on Twitch. You guys already get to see everything I'm doing. So why try to hide anything? And then from there, like my community early on when I was learning Unreal Engine, a lot of them were stepping in and like helping me because I didn't know what I was doing a lot of the time. So they would like coach me through some things that I didn't understand. And so like in my opinion, it was kind of obvious to just let them help me out and like give me their feedback basically. So
is this, I'm trying to understand what's going on in your head. Is this like a marketing thing? Like, are you like, oh, well, I want to find out what they want so that they, they have the right rewards? Or it just never occurred to you to like not
I've never seen it as marketing, to be honest.
So you just see it as like connecting with the community and like figuring out what people want.
I'm building a game for people, and these are the people who love the game more than. So if they don't like what I'm doing, then what? I'm doing something wrong, right? Like I'm building a game and all these people are following me and they love what I'm doing and they love me as a developer, I think. Maybe they just like the game. So it just, to me, like if they don't want to share like the beta access or anything, like if I tell them, hey, I think we're going to do, I don't know, like, I don't know, some sort of potion or something that I want to make in the game, and everyone says, I don't know if I like that idea, and it's like kind of unanimous, then I'll reconsider it because it's really like I'm making the game for this community. Like, yeah, it's for me, mostly, but for the most part, if they think there's something wrong, then I need to be reconsidering it because maybe I'm missing something, and most of the time I am if there's something that they really don't agree on.
See, this is why it bothers me that marketing has like this negative connotation to some people, because a lot of people think, oh, you got to do marketing. That means you got to like shove your shit down people's throats and you got to like sell them stuff and do all the bad stuff. But what you're doing, I would consider marketing. But you're going about it with the customer focus. Like what you're saying is you want to deliver the best experience possible to the person that wants to play your game, right? So you're doing everything in your power to like go out to them, figure out what they want, and then deliver that. And I think that's fantastic. That's how you make excellent products, right? Not just in game dev and in life. Like you figure out, okay, there's a need. What do people need? What do people want? And then you kind of deliver that. And how much of that do you think contributed to your successful Kickstarter?
I think quite a bit. Like, first of all, I think I have the number right here. 53% of the funds I've made came from my audience, from like direct, like my links that I put out. So a lot of it, right? Like that would have been a lot higher for most Kickstarters, but I got kind of lucky. We can go into that later.
Based on your current numbers, that's 100% funded right there, right? Or close to it, really close.
That's the 178% funded. That's 53% of 107, like 53% of the 39.
So just if nobody outside of your audience covered you or backed you, you would still be 100% funded. Mm-hmm. So it's all your audience. Close enough. You're like what, a weekend?
We would get there.
Yeah.
We just got 3 weeks left.
So okay. So that's what I just want to stress that point though, because when people say marketing, they think of ads, they think of posting your shit on Twitter or Facebook, but really making something that people want and really involving them in the process the whole way. Like you've been at this years at this point, right? Like involving these people in all these different decisions. That counts too. That's a big part of it.
Spending time to build an audience, but not just build it, but also like nurture it. You know what I mean? Like be part of it. Like people come into my Discord all the time and they say, how often does, Kindred read these ideas in this idea section? And I'll answer and say pretty much every day. And then they're shocked that I'm on there responding to people, because a lot of game devs apparently don't enter their Discord or don't like participate in their community like discussions. I'm there every day, all day. I wake up first thing in the morning and I spend probably half an hour, which is crazy, but I spend probably half an hour just catching up on Discord and reading emails. So I'm constantly involved in the community. And I think that is the reason I have a community that's, first of all, like so awesome. Like my community is amazing. That I think we ban like one person every 6 months. Like we have like 5 people banned in the entire Discord because people are just awesome.
That's
So
awesome.
I don't know. I think we just have a great community because we're all so engaged in it. We all just love what the game is and what like the community is, and so everyone just contributes.
I think that's another big point too, is like it seems like you see yourself as part of them. It's like y'all together doing this versus like, here's me and here's what I'm going to do and you all listen to me, whatever. Like seeing yourself at
it's always
as a dictator versus like we were doing this together. I think that's what most great communities are. I think that's another mistake a lot of people make too, is they see building an audience, just like I see marketing is about things, see building an audience as building a bunch of people that will listen to you and like buy your stuff or whatever, but really like making them a part of your process, I think is really, really powerful. So you've been community building for years. How long have you been Twitch streaming?
Since I think it was November of 2017, so 2.5 years.
And then YouTube channel is how old?
It's pretty old because I started a while back, but like I think the actual tag for it is like Siren Games, which is like 3 game studios back for me. So yeah, but I actually started posting about 4 months ago. 4 months ago, I think, was when I dropped like the first trailer on there, and I think the first devlog was probably about then. And that, like, I posted one devlog and I didn't do anything with it for like 3 weeks until that devlog suddenly just blew up one day, and I was like, I guess I better not drop another devlog, and then I started posting more often.
Did you link it anywhere or anything, like to your community?
Just my Discord, just my community. So I think, I know we're getting a little off topic, but I think it kind of hit like a certain threshold. Like like it had to have like 1,000 views or something before the algorithm would touch it, and then it would like met all the criteria in the algorithm because I kind of just stole all the keywords that all the other devlogs were using. And so I think I just kind of piggybacked off of all of them, and suddenly it just blew up.
You know what I've seen sometimes is there'll be a video that somebody does that goes crazy, and you just happen to have a video that is in the recommended feed for that video for whatever reason. So just randomly out of nowhere, it can just like blow. Yep. But your channel's remained pretty steady after that, though. You've been doing pretty good on all the different devlogs and stuff. Do you have any kind of tips in using that kind of stuff, making devlogs and stuff? Because I know a lot of people like to make them about their game. Anything you've learned?
I think, I wish I knew. Like, I honestly, people ask all the time, like, how do you get your YouTube off the ground? And I have no idea. Like, I always tell people, like, well, Tim Rustwick posted a video a day for like a whole year or however long that was.
You tell them what I did?
Yeah.
They ask you how you did it. You tell them what I did?
I don't know how I did it. I just don't. Like, I just posted a devlog and it just took off. I always tell people, get your keywords right. I use a tool called TubeBuddy. I don't know if you use that.
I do.
It's pretty useful. Get your keywords right. Use that. Do some research. Make sure you know what keywords you're using or your tags. Tags, not keywords. Whatever. Title your videos right. Like, it's just like all obvious things you can find in like 10 seconds by doing a quick search on YouTube, like how to get views on your YouTube video. Like, it's all over the place.
I really love that you said that, though, because here's the thing, it gets complicated. Like, people like, I get similar questions like, how did you do this, how did you do that, and like I can tell you what I did, but the complicated part about that is like you could literally do exactly what I did and get different results.
People do. I've had a lot of people who started their devlogs after I started mine, and they do the exact same thing, and they're still only getting like a couple hundred views per video a week.
And it's complicated. Yeah, like it's like sometimes you really don't know, and it sucks because then there are some people that just like they say what to do with all this confidence, right? And it's one of the reasons why I've like tried to change like how I do my videos, because like this sounds crazy, but like people listen, so like I have to be very careful about what I say and how I say it, because like my words seem to have the effect on people to do things, and I got to be, it's a sense of responsibility. It's like that whole Spider-Man quote. But I think there is some sort of luck to it, right? Yeah. Like it's right place, right time, or like who knows, like pandemic is at the top of the the Steam list player base these days. Like that's just
surprise.
Yeah, like it's random. I mean, it's not really random though, but nobody could have like predicted it. I don't know. Is there any kind of process that you have while making the videos themselves to like keep them engaging? Is there anything you're thinking about or trying to convey?
So early on, I was looking at a lot of the like retention rate of the videos, and I was noticing that like right away I was dropping a lot of viewers off. And so I went back through like my videos, and I realized that the very first like 15 seconds or so of my video was just like some B-roll of like panning through some of my world. And even though I think it's super gorgeous and like I would want to stare at that all day, apparently most viewers don't care. And so I switched that, and I did this crazy climactic like build up sound, and it just kind of like grows, and then like the music starts and it shows a little bit of gameplay, and it immediately cuts to action in the game. And I noticed that retention rate like was way better. Like it was like closer to like 70% instead of like 30%, which kind of was a lot better. So I learned that, and then other than that, like I really don't look into a lot of the analytics in there anymore. It's just because now I just get the views I get, and it just like now I'm actually releasing shorter videos, which I was against before because I know 10 minutes is like the algorithm thing. But I've been doing like 3-minute videos for these feature showcase videos because I just want to teach people about the game and show people more things about the game. And I don't really care about the algorithm at this point because they'll find those videos eventually if they are fans, you know? So I can keep the devlogs longer, like 10 minutes or so, and really explain that and try to get the algorithm with those. But I don't mind doing that for every video.
So you said you paid attention to retention rate and then made conscious effort to change it. Was that like a one-time thing, or did you do that with multiple videos over time?
Pretty much one time.
So you just did one time. I was about to make a point about how important that was, and you just did it
important.
Once.
No, it is. And if it didn't help, if it didn't make a huge change, I would have kept changing it. I would have kept looking at it. And I know you just talked about this the other day. I think you said something about if something works, you stop there. Like you don't keep going beyond that. And that's what happened to me. Like I swear you said something like that. You said
I said the opposite. I think I said if it doesn't work, try something new. If it does, stick to it and try to keep iterating. I don't know. I don't know where you're referring to though. I have videos all over the internet. I don't fucking know what I say anymore.
Maybe it was on stream. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But that's one of those things right there though. Sorry to interrupt. That's one of those things that like I think it gets glossed over, right? Like people ask you like, how did you do this? And you say, well, I just posted a video and I posted a title, but like maybe you left that part out, right? That you paid attention to the retention rate, and then you tried to actually improve that, right? And then you did that and you learned something new. And even though you're not paying attention anymore, maybe that thing kept in your mind about that first 10 seconds, right? And then so you've made an analytical change over time. And I also think this is just an observation too. Your art is fantastic. It's fantastic. You've learned a few things about visual style and intrigue and capturing people's attention and all that comes off in your footage and stuff like that too. Even your thumbnails. Right. I tried to copy your thumbnail. Why?
Did you?
Because I was trying, because I saw your channel blowing up, right? And I was like, oh damn, he's doing great. So I was like, let me just try that, because I'm always trying weird stuff. Like I'm always like, let me try this, let me try that. I copied Mark Brown. I copied a bunch of people. Just like figuring stuff out, right? Didn't make a difference. Swords and Magic just does better. Yeah, it works for you. Like it works with your style, right? Like it works with your channel and the algorithm and all that stuff. But it's just crazy how like literally same thing can like not work the same in different circumstances.
Yeah.
That's why that experimentation is important.
With the thumbnails, I actually learned a trick recently that helped a lot. I mean, I don't know if it actually made any difference with the thumbnails, but I think they look a lot better, and that's all that matters. I think. But I have an artist now who has been working with me to do a lot of the 2D illustrations. I don't know if you noticed the logo's new and like all the characters and everything. That's one of my artists, or one of my friends, and part of the community, members of the community. His name is Kitsune, and he started doing the art for me recently. And he, like, I was putting together a wallpaper, and I had like the full character on the screen, and you could see the whole thing. And I posted, and I was like, here, you guys can download this new wallpaper. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And then he came through and he was like, hey, you should try this. And what he did is he zoomed way in on the character and like cut like half it off the screen and then put the logo on the other side of it. And it just looked way cooler. And I didn't even think about doing that. Like I thought, I don't want to cut any of the character off because it's a really cool like art. I want to show like the whole picture. But it turns out when you like do that and you like have it leave like the screen, it like generate a lot of like interest in the image, and people went nuts over the wallpapers when I did all of them like that. And so that's what I started doing with the thumbnails too, is just like zooming way in on the character and just kind of like making that the focal point, and then just putting the kind of words on the side instead of like the whole thing.
You know, I did that for the Phalophobia screenshots on Steam too, because I noticed that like, because it's a one screen game, right? So when you shrink it down to a screenshot, it looks stupid, but if you like zoom in to where it's kind of like 1-to-1 ratio, it looks really interesting. That's a good tip. That's a really good tip. I noticed that too, like in one of my games when I was working on the trailer, that like for me anyway, like the second I get, like if I'm playing a game, it looks fine, but like then when I take that game footage and I try to put it in a trailer, I immediately notice how uninteresting it can be. You know, because then I'm like, oh, now it's in video, and it just doesn't look that interesting.
Yeah, because you're not the one playing it.
Right, and now you're seeing it as like a video editor instead of like a gameplay type of screen. So yeah, like zooming in was a big part of the trailer too. Of like
that can help gameplay too, by the way, like game design.
That's a like pro tip
right
there.
Yeah, like if it looks good in video, then it's probably going to be really fun to play, right? So maybe try to switch up your camera and stuff in game.
Yeah, that might be a symptom of a bigger problem. Maybe everything is way too zoomed out.
Maybe the whole game's terrible.
You start over. Stop it. No, but it's that's one of those things too, because we were talking about, you were helping me with art earlier on the stream, and like it colors and like sizeal relationships. What is it? Is there a word for
Proportions?
that? Proportions. See, you have the art words. You have the art words.
That's just an English word, Tim.
The proportions of things is super important. Like the rule of thirds, the perspective, the grid. Not just how big something is, but how big something is in comparison to another thing. Like in the stupid toilet game we're making, there's a dog and then there's a person. The dog looks fine until you put it next to the person. When the dog is bigger than the person, then suddenly it's a problem, right? Because now it looks off. It looks weird. That it's super fascinating in like thumbnails and stuff, and I'm glad that you figured it out, because that's something that fascinates me, but I don't know how to figure out when it's right. You know, I guess you just mess with it until it looks good. Or
don't make your art in a vacuum, right? Like, so don't like design one piece of art and then close that and then make another piece of art, because that next piece of art is probably not going to look anything like the first one. So design all your art in the same screen next to each other all the time, so you can always see what it looks like together.
Do you think streaming and stuff and constantly showing people what's on your screen has an effect on that stuff too?
I think so. Yeah. First of all, because if it looks weird, they're going to say something, right? If your audience is good, like they're going to call you out on it. And so that'll make you question it and look back at it again.
Which when normally you might not even give it a second look.
You might think like that looks perfect, looks just like a toilet. And then a few minutes later, it doesn't anymore.
I have personal experience. I feel attacked right now. Okay, so we got a little off topic. Let's kind of shift back to the Kickstarter. I think all this really applies to that though, because all these little details, maybe like they seem kind of glanced over, but like they're important to eventually launching something like this, because you have to design the page, you have to design the thumbnails, you have to design the trailer, you have to design the images, all this stuff. Is there something specifically on Kickstarter that you learned during this whole process that maybe worked better or didn't work at all?
I don't know. So when I started designing like the page, because the page design is probably the most important thing right next to the video, right? When I started designing the page, I had a lot of text, and I just had these little graphical banners between like every paragraph, just saying like what that paragraph was. And then I was like, well, I'll put some screenshots in here. And so I went back through and just like added a couple screenshots there throughout, and I showed it to my wife, and I showed it to a couple of the members of the community, and I got a bunch of feedback, and everyone was like, yeah, it looks great, it looks fantastic. And then I started looking at other Kickstarters, and I realized how much art they have all over the page. They have all the reward tiers, like all dressed up and pretty, and they have like a whole section about their team that's like all, you know, cut out, and they have all the different characters, team members with like with all their background and their bio and all that stuff. And then they have, you know, just all kinds of stuff, their stretch goals and everything. And so I went through and redid pretty much everything and added a ton of art. And like I even at this point I was like contacting Kitsune, and I was like, hey, can you please make me some characters and some like designs for the reward tiers? So we went through and figured out a bunch of different ideas for the reward tiers. And he ended up doing like a little baby fawn. That's one of the races in the game. And he did like a legendary sword for like the legendary tier and a bunch of different things. And I think that all that custom art just made the Kickstarter go from like this little indie game to like something way more professional. Like it was way better. So I think just like everything I do with art, reference. So instead of just referencing like images of different like things that you're going to do art for, I referenced other Kickstarters. I mean, it sounds really obvious, right? But I didn't do that initially. And then when I went back in and started looking at other Kickstarters that were successful, and the ones that weren't successful too, I was learning from them too, because I was looking at theirs and looking like, okay, there's a ton of text, like just like a huge paragraph of text or like a whole block of text. You can't even see any images on the screen when you're scrolling down. Obviously, I don't want to do that. So then I go back and look at the successful ones, and you can see there's images, and not only just images, but GIFs. GIFs were huge. And I've never really liked doing GIFs, but I learned real fast how to make GIFs. So there's a lot to learn about that.
So, like, how much time is spent actually going through all this stuff? Like, is it a large amount? Is it like a glance on a Sunday, or like what?
I spent probably like 2 to 3 hours almost every day, like working on the Kickstarter for like at least 2 weeks before it started. And then when I realized that the pre-launch page didn't show the whole Kickstarter, and I wasn't like sweating bullets about getting it done anymore, I slowed down a little bit and I didn't work quite as hard, but I still worked probably every day for at least 20 minutes to an hour, like getting ready for it. It took so much time. Like everyone told me, like I had a handful of people tell me actually before I started that Kickstarters take a lot of time. They're a lot of work to handle and they're just set up and then like to manage. And I just guess I didn't believe it because I wasn't expecting it to take that much time. But I don't think I've worked on the actual game for like the last month for more than like a few hours. And the only time I did is when I was streaming. And even on stream, I was like, guys, I kind of want to work on the Kickstarter for the stream. Like, I want to do this art and do these like reward tiers and everything. And everyone was like, no, we want to see the game. And so I ended up not doing it. But yeah, it was just constant work. I never like really stopped, and a constant stress too. Like I've been super stressed about it because I have so much stuff to like set up. I had a whole website rebuilt like a month before, and I was dealing with a new web designer I'd never really like dealt with before. So I had to like learn how that whole stuff worked. I had to like every video I post now, I have to upload like a compressed thumbnail onto the website and post that. And that was like a whole new process that I never really dealt with because I didn't understand how web stuff worked. So I had to learn a ton about that too. I had to learn about press releases and press kits that I've never done before. It's just there's tons of stuff.
I want to dive into all that. So if we can. So first, how much of your actual dev time on the Kickstarter page was research? Big chunk of it or small chunk?
I would say pretty much, I don't know, maybe not a ton of time. Like I usually just kind of look at a page for a few minutes and like I probably looked at like 30 to 40 pages, like Kickstarter pages, like all kinds, not just games, but other things too, just to see like what they were doing.
Are you looking at it analytically? Like, this page does this. What do they do for the rewards?
I wasn't looking at it like to buy their stuff.
You just went shopping spree.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I may have pledged to a couple campaigns in the process. Like I pledged to 2 different campaigns since I started doing this because I couldn't help it. They're cool. So, but yeah, I was just really being analytical about everything.
Okay, and then are you taking notes during this process, or just kind of in your head?
We could say I was taking notes, but I wasn't. No,
in your brain though. But your brain is assembling this picture of this thing, right? Your different puzzle pieces are going in. I'm trying to defend you. We're gonna pretend you take notes. Let's just go with that.
My connection's getting real bad.
That's not good. Hopefully it doesn't break, and then people are gonna wonder, where'd you get into the good parts, and now you're gonna cut out.
Yeah, I think we're good now. Maybe.
R.I.P. Kindred. No, okay. So you spend a bunch of time on the page. You analyze a bunch of different Kickstarters. So you're doing the same thing that you were doing with YouTube, is figuring out, okay, people like this, they don't like this, this is working, this isn't. Then you're kind of adapting some of that stuff, just like you said with art. You're using references. You're not designing in a vacuum. You're kind of like building everything together. Are you involving your community in the actual visual design of the page, or that's all you?
So that part I actually didn't do. I didn't really show the community a lot of stuff. I did a couple sneak peeks here and there. I was just showing people things. But I have a really good mod team too. I wish I knew how many mods I had, like 5 or 6 mods, I think. And some of them are actually helping with other things too. Like I have a video editor now. I shouldn't have mentioned that. Now he edits all my videos, so I don't have to worry about that. And so he's on that team, so I was showing him stuff, and he was also working on the Kickstarter video with me at the same time. And I have another mod member who's actually taken over my Twitter basically and just posting for me constantly because I cannot keep up with that anymore. And she does a much better job than I could have ever done. So her and I were working a lot together because I think she used to work for a game journalist like firm or something. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But so she was telling me like, you need to get a press release out and you need to like do this. And I was like, I don't think anyone's going to pick up a press release from my little studio. And she was like, no, they will, because they have a quota. And so you're going to get picked up by a couple little places at least, because they're going to have to fill their quota, and hopefully that'll snowball. And she was right. So I was working with her with the Kickstarter too, because she knows a lot about marketing too. Yeah. So I was working. I was sharing things, but only with like a small group of people.
Okay. Let's dive into that a little bit. So press release. Did you write it? Did you have someone else write it?
Yeah, I wrote it.
You wrote it, and then what did you do with it? What do you do once you have it done?
So there's a website. Oh man, I can't remember what it's called. GamePress? Yes, GamePress. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, so there's a website, and I went on there and I started looking through the press releases. You have to sign up, and I had no idea what I was doing. And then I found an email. It was like how to submit a press release, and it was an email, and it just said email your press release here. That's pretty much all it said. It didn't give you any guidelines or anything. I think it said something about attaching images or something, but nothing like real definitive. And so I was looking at that, and then like everything else, I just started looking through other like indie dev press releases and looking at how they're written and seeing like how like sort of terminologies they were using and what perspective they're writing in. And I just copied it basically. I kind of just wrote my own in the same version. I just said like Kindred Games is announcing launching his first Kickstarter campaign or something in order to bring their first title, Swords of Magic and Stuff, and I like explained the game and everything. And then I had a little short snippet about like the studio and like kind of like the background of the studio, and then another one about the game and how it started and like what it is. But yeah, and I think we have like maybe 6 or 8 articles written about the game now out there.
Only from GamesPress?
Yeah.
That's the only place you submitted it?
But GamesPress, as far as I know, shares it, or maybe oh no, I can't think of
they go to Gamasutra.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I've seen some of them go. I don't know if all of them go.
Some of my press releases ended up there because I'm getting Google alerts for them for some reason. So,
which is another depressing thing. Just a random side note: I set up Google alerts for Phonophobia, and the only ones that I get are the pirating game. All the different pirate sites. Now I get notifications when the 10 people a day upload the game.
Oh man.
But sucks. Yeah, Google alerts are fantastic. So the press release is something you did. Did you email individual outlets?
No.
None.
I wanted to, and I should have, but I did not. So I actually did like no email marketing at all.
Really? Did you get emails from anybody about?
Yeah. I actually got a couple of emails from some Linux places. They were asking if the game was going to be on Linux, and they were really interested in it, and they wanted to write about it. I told most of them, if we can, we will. So, yeah, but I got a couple emails from, who else? I got another one from somebody else too, and they asked me if I had a press kit, and I didn't have one at the time. So they said, we can just use videos or images and videos from your website. And I said, sure, go for it. And then they wrote a little article. But I don't remember if they even posted it or not. I don't think I've seen it yet. I'm not sure.
Cool. So was there more than one press release, or there was just one? And
I've done two. I did one saying it was going to launch, and then another one when it was about 50% funded within like a certain amount of time. Or no, I think I did one when it launched, but
the day of or day before, or like
I did it the day of, and I should have done the day before.
Okay.
I should have done one like when I first like launched the pre-launch page, and then I should have done one the day it launched. And then I should have done one when it hit 50% funded, because that was within like 4 hours. And then I should have done one when I did do one when we actually got funded.
And
I haven't done any since then.
Other than timing, is there anything else you learned in that process?
I also should have had a press kit ready. I still don't have one up yet. Definitely need a press kit, and I should have it on the website, so it's super easy to get to. and I also should have been attaching images that I wanted them to use in the press releases, but they seem to be finding their own. But that I wonder if I would have been picked up by bigger places if they had images and everything really readily available or a press kit ready to go. Because right now they have to find their own information, and I know that that's not something they want to do as a journalist who's like trying to make deadlines
Right.
or whatever.
Isn't it crazy how obvious it is in retrospect? It's just like, oh yeah, I totally should have done that.
Yeah, but like, so yesterday, actually I think it was earlier today, one of my good friends messaged me and I was telling him how the curve on our like funding chart right now is like kind of leveling out. And he was like, well, what can you do? And I said, well, I have an interview with Tim Ruswick tonight, so maybe that'll build a little interest. There's a little fourth wall breaking, I guess, if you want to call it that, a little meta. This is promotional material, in case you didn't know. Anyway, so I was talking to him and he was saying, well, what else can you do? Can you find like reach out to anyone else, or like can you like, I don't know, like post or email some people or something, or find some more interviews or whatever. And I was kind of like, honestly, I don't want to. Like, I know this sounds dumb because like there's so much I could still be doing to push the Kickstarter even further. Like, we're almost 200% funded. Like, it could go so much further if I just like put all my efforts into marketing. But I'm not a marketer, and I'm honestly like exhausted. Like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, I started picking up a bunch of sponsorships for YouTube because I started getting a bunch of emails about sponsorships, and I had like 3 or 4 lined up. And as soon as I lined those up, I started getting so stressed out that I didn't want to make a YouTube video. So I'm stressed about that. I'm stressed about like all these things. And so yesterday or 2 days, I think it was 2 days ago, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to cancel all the sponsorships because I don't want to do them. And what's like, a chunk of, I don't know if I can say how much money. Let's round up. We'll just say about $500-$600. What's that kind of money in like comparison to the Kickstarter that I could be promoting instead?
Well, that's what I was telling you the other day. Like, I don't know if this is the same for you, but a lot of people talk about getting discouraged after failure, right? But not a lot of people talk about getting discouraged or losing motivation sometimes after success.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking real thing, man. Like, for me, dude, I used to have to, when I did clients and stuff, and this is not success per se, but I feel like it's the same thing. Like, when I'd get a really big contract, I had to tell them not to pay me up front. Because if they paid me up front, like, I felt like it would just lose the motivation of the project. Like, if they pay me half or something, I'm like, okay, gotta get the other half, do it all. But like, same thing with like launching a game or something. There's like this, I don't know, for me anyway, there's like a dip of like, oh, I did a thing, but now it's like, now I don't want to do anything. And maybe part of it is the exhaustion and all the work you put in, right? Maybe part of it is like you're burnt out, but you didn't really know you were burnt out until you have time to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have any insight on that? Is that how you felt? Or like,
so for me, it was like I said, I'm not a marketer, so like I don't really enjoy doing the marketing thing. I don't like having like 60 people on my contact list to contact or to talk to every day.
Yeah.
That's just too much for me. I don't know. Like when the Kickstarter was funded, it was kind of like, oh, good, I can take a breath now. But like, if I were a real marketer, I wouldn't be taking a breath. Right. I would be hyperventilating, right? Like trying to like get way more eyes on this. Like, this was a time to like be pushing it because it's got a bunch of articles written about it. I was reached out to by a publisher who didn't like offer me a publishing deal, but like I feel like he was just kind of like throwing a line in. So I feel like I should be reaching or like like chasing that a little bit. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's kind of like I want to be pushing it harder, but I don't have like the willpower or like the mental energy to do it anymore. Like, I'm just exhausted. And to me, it's like that part of me is just looking at it saying, well, I'm already 178% funded right now. So I don't have to like push anymore. Like, I only needed this much money and now we're already like way beyond that. So like, should I keep pushing for it or should I just go back to working on the game? Because that's honestly all I want to do is just like work on the game right now. That's it.
What were your projections for it? Like, what did you think it was going to do?
So this is going to sound weird, and like I'm going to be totally transparent about this because I think it's important. But like, to me, there's like this weird thing where like you always think that you're like the exception, right? Like everyone thinks that they're like the one that's going to make it big, like you have to. That's human nature. If you don't have that, then like, why get out of bed, So to me, I always thought like, oh, this is going to blow up because my game's amazing and of course it's going to be great. And then the other half of me is always kind of like your game's terrible and what are you thinking? Like, you're not an indie dev, you're just like some guy who's faking it the whole time, But to me, like, in the back of my head, I always thought like, we're going to get funded like 2 days in and it's going to blow up and people are going to take notice. Like I thought that was going to happen, but I kept telling everybody and myself like, well, if we get funded by the end, that'll be awesome. That's all that matters, and that's all I care about. And that's like what I'm expecting, even though like something in the back of my head kept telling me it was going to do great. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird because like, as much as I kept telling myself like, don't think like that, like you can't be like getting overexcited about it and like setting these expectations up. It's just still like, just because like our audience is growing and like YouTube's blowing up, we have like, I think we have almost 22,000 subscribers on YouTube now. Like I think part of me just couldn't like forget about that part when I was thinking about the Kickstarter, and so I just kept thinking like it's gonna do better than I think it's gonna do.
Do you think that in your brain probably changed like how you did things? Like, do you think it made you work harder or not as hard, or like had any effect on like how you laid things out?
I think so, because I think like, I don't know. I think the idea of me like knowing somewhere deep down that it was going to do really well made me want to make sure I presented it that way. Like
Right.
I like faking it till you make it. I think that I was doing that entirely.
You had to meet
Like
your own expectations. So
yeah.
like,
Yeah, I wanted to be like a double A indie dev. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be like a little guy who doesn't really know what he's doing. I wanted to look like I was on top of things.
I mean, not to go all crazy philosophical, but it took you bringing that up to really notice that about myself, because like I totally have both of those voices in my head too. Like
I think everybody does to an extent.
Maybe I want to talk to more people about it, because I think that's fascinating, because I definitely have. I don't feel like I'm ever just like flat in the middle. I feel like I'm like, oh, my shit's awesome. Yeah. It's gonna be great. I'm a good game developer. This is amazing. People are gonna love this. And the other side of me like, oh, nobody is gonna say anything. Everybody hates your stuff. Probably. It's probably a lot worse than you think it is. And it's like one of the two. And it just, I don't know. I feel it's hard to ride in the middle sometimes, at least. But it also sucks too, because like when you were talking about how you don't consider yourself a marketer and stuff like that, and like on one hand you've got the logical side of things, right? Like logically, if I work every day and I do this, then I can bring in more money, and yes, Kickstarter is already successful, but if I keep working I can make it more successful, and that logically makes sense. But then there's like the emotional side of it too. Like you're exhausted, you're like, you did a lot of work. This is not your comfort zone of like doing things and talking to people. Is not what you want to do. You want to make the game, right? So like,
right,
balancing those things too, like I feel like there's probably an argument for both, right? Like there's probably a better thing to take care of yourself and your mental health, and you're in it for the long haul, right? So just like don't push too hard, but then more funding equals more opportunity and all that great stuff. So I don't know, how do you make those decisions? Have you made a decision? You're just like not gonna push super hard, or
see, I don't know. Like, I'm sure tomorrow I'll probably wake up and have a complete...
I just feel different.
Yeah, I hope anyway. Because like today, talking to my friend this morning, I was just kind of like, I don't really care. Like, I just want to make the game today, so I'm just going to work on the game. And I did pretty much all day, worked on the game or aspects of it. And I didn't really touch the Kickstarter at all. I mean, it is starting to slow down, so there's not a whole lot to do with it right now, other than just going and pushing it in places. So I don't know.
Do you think that has an effect on your psychology, seeing that curve? Like flatten out a little bit?
Yeah, because like if you saw the curve, I can show it to you. Or I think I did show it to you. There's this huge spike right in the beginning, right? When all my audience, when I posted it to everyone who was expecting it, and they all jumped in and backed it, there's a huge spike, and then it sort of tapered off, and then jumped back up again because we got featured on the homepage of Kickstarter. As like the project for the day, which was crazy, for like 24 hours. And so that really spiked it a lot. And then there was also a newsletter that went out from Kickstarter, and we were featured in that. And so like there's this huge spike, and then now suddenly today and yesterday it's basically almost a flat line. Like there's no activity. But if we didn't get those huge spikes, that flat line wouldn't have been the flat line, it would have been a spike, right? So in the back of my head I keep thinking like it's still money, and it's still people coming in and backing the project who believe in it and like want to see it come to life. So it doesn't matter. And also I've kind of been preparing myself for like the middle 2 weeks or so. The Kickstarter, they're supposed to be a lot slower. But that's where everyone tells you like that's when you have to push the hardest and like really get a lot of people interested in the project and like start, promoting it more. And for me, it's like this is the time where I just want to like take a break and just like chill out and not care about it. And I know it's terrible. It's not a good way to look at it. And I know a lot of people watching are probably going to be like, what are you doing? No, you got to like make this work. But
I think it's the same for like longer projects in general though. Cause like that mid section of a game dev project is the same way. It's just like, oh, there's just so much to do and I should be working, but I just put it off till tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I feel you. So we're going on an hour here. Before we talk about where people can back the game and all that stuff, is there a thing that sticks out that you learned during this whole process of building a community, streaming, YouTube, Kickstarter that maybe we didn't cover that you want to share with other people?
Probably. There's probably a bunch of things.
I
think that one of the things that people don't understand is like you really do have, like for Kickstarter in general, you really do have to have an audience first. If you don't have an audience to sell to, like you're not going to get a spike in the beginning. You're just going to rely on people coming in naturally from Kickstarter, and you're not going to get promoted because of that. And it's just not going to happen. Everyone told me 30% of your backing came from Kickstarter. And like, so if 0% of your backing is your audience, 30% of 0 is 0. So like you've got to have an audience first. And I think that goes for like everything. Like if you're going to launch a game to no audience, there's not going to be anyone there to catch it. So you're not going to go anywhere. So you've got to be building an audience. And that I wouldn't say I learned that. I guess I did learn that, but I learned it luckily. Like I learned it by doing it, and I didn't realize it until I'd already done it. So
you've got the actual analytics to prove that what you did paid off, right? Like you've got numbers. I think too, a lot of people don't realize, like, one, that's super important, but it's important for multiple reasons. I think there's a psychology thing when the social proof, right? If a Kickstarter is not doing well, it makes you second guess whether you want to be a part of it, because it's like not like other people don't seem to like this. Is there something wrong with me about clicking this button?
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of Kickstarters will put up like on their image, on their like thumbnail image, which I was told by the director of games at Kickstarter not to do this, so I haven't done it. But a lot of people will put up and say, like 100% funded in 48 hours or whatever. And then that will apparently drive clicks. They said not to do it, and I didn't want to push any buttons because I wanted to get featured, and I did. So I'm glad I didn't do it. But at this point, I might go change that and just try it and see what happens, because
I wonder too. I would wonder like the percentage. Like it's one thing about like backing a game, but then I wonder if some people, if their intention is to just make sure the game gets made, right? Make sure the Kickstarter goal gets hit up. If 100% might discourage that, like the fact that it's already. I think that's why stretch goals work, right? Like it's a reason to keep going. Did they tell you?
Yeah, and
why?
that is. They said I think there's like an aesthetic thing. Like they didn't want to show off a game that has like banners plastered all over the image,
Gotcha.
I think that's why. So that's why I didn't do it early on. But I don't know. I'm still kind of torn about it, because I think like you're right. Like if I was going to go back a game, I don't want to go back a game that's already, 300% funded, right? Like I want to back a game if I'm the person who puts it over the edge,
But then the whole social proof argument too. Like so many people like this thing that they did this.
I've gotta like it too. Yeah.
You're missing out now,
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of
I don't know.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess that's where testing and analytical thinking comes in play, right? Like you test it. If it works, you keep doing it. If it doesn't work, you try something new.
Yep.
Where can people find you on the internet and the interwebs?
Everywhere. You can go to Twitter and find me at Michael Kocha, Kocha. Because no one knows how to spell that. You can find us on at our website, playswordsandmagic.com, and Kickstarter, but I don't have the link because it's a crazy long link. So that'll
the
be
Kickstarter links and the YouTube links and all that stuff will be down in the description. I know Kickstarter. HTTPS.
No, there is a link from our website too, though. So if you just go there, you can find it too.
Okay, and you guys are probably mid-campaign. We're going to keep going, though. If you like Swords and Magic and stuff, make sure you back it on Kickstarter. The link is down there. Click it. I'm going to keep saying that. Click the link. Go there. Hit back. Make sure that this game gets all of the funding it can possibly get so that we can see the best version of Swords and Magic and stuff.
Sure.
I'm excited.
Sounds good to me.
Dude, thank you for hanging out and chatting with us and sharing all your secrets. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I actually wish I had more time because I feel like there's so much stuff we didn't even cover.
There really
is.
There always is. But thank you. And everybody, back to Kickstarter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel down there. Click all the links. Make shit happen. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everybody.
See ya.